philosophers, in this video, we are going to be diving into the real history of Atlantis and see what the ancient Greece actually predicted about our society. Subscribe now and turn on the notifications so you won't miss any of our latest uploads. Do you know, Atlantis was never meant to be discovered. It was never a place you could sail to, never a ruin waiting beneath the ocean. More than 2,000 years ago, ancient Greek philosophers described a civilization so advanced, so powerful, that it believed itself beyond consequence. And then it vanished, not from invasion, not from disaster, but from a mistake every powerful society eventually makes. This is not a story about a lost island. It is a warning written in the language of history. And once you understand why Atlantis was created, you may realize it was never about the past. To understand Atlantis, we must forget the modern obsession with myth. Ancient Greece did not tell stories for entertainment. Stories were instruments of truth. When Greek philosophers wanted to confront power, corruption, or moral failure, they did not lecture. They told stories powerful enough to survive centuries. Atlantis appears in the writings of Plato, not as fantasy, but as a philosophical warning disguised as history. Plato lived in a world surrounded by fallen civilizations. He had seen empires rise quickly and collapse violently. The Greeks believed societies were living things. They were born, they grew, and if left unchecked, they decayed. Atlantis represented the final stage. A civilization that solved survival, but failed to control itself. Plato did not invent Atlantis to explain the past. He created it to confront the present. In his time, Athens was powerful, wealthy, confident. Its influence stretched across the ancient world. And like Atlantis, Athens believed its success proved its superiority. Atlantis was a mirror, a way to ask a dangerous question without speaking it aloud. What happens when power grows faster than wisdom? Atlantis did not rise from chaos. It was designed. In Plato's account, the land itself was a gift, a place shaped by nature to encourage order rather than conflict. Wide plains, rich soil, natural harbors, and a climate free from extremes. Atlantis did not struggle to survive. Survival was assumed. To the ancient Greek mind, this mattered. They believed hardship shaped character. Ease tested it. Atlantis was born into ease. Its founders organized the land with precision. Waterways were carved into perfect rings. Cities followed geometry rather than instinct. Power was distributed deliberately, ensuring no single ruler could dominate the whole. At the center stood balance, not equality, balance. The rulers of Atlantis were not kings in the traditional sense. They were guardians of order, tasked with preserving harmony between people, land, and law. Authority was inherited, but responsibility was absolute. And for generations it worked. Atlantis prospered without rebellion. Wealth accumulated without collapse. Expansion occurred without chaos. This is what made Atlantis dangerous. It was proof that a civilization could grow powerful without immediately destroying itself. Ancient Greece never trusted perfection. To Greek philosophers, perfection was unstable, static, fragile. Life, they believed, required tension, struggle, correction. Atlantis removed tension. Its people were not forced to adapt. They were protected from consequence. Resources arrived without effort. Defense came naturally. And when effort disappears, awareness follows. The Atlanteans grew accustomed to success. They stopped questioning their systems. Laws became tradition. Tradition became identity. And identity became certainty. Comfort is not corruption, but comfort changes priorities. In Atlantis, excellence slowly gave way to efficiency. Decisions became easier and more distant. Leadership grew ceremonial. Power became abstract. The people still believed in their ideals. They just no longer examined them. Ancient Greece understood this shift intimately. They feared the moment a society stops asking why it exists and focuses only on maintaining what it has built. Atlantis crossed that threshold quietly. There were no protests, no warnings, no collapse, only stability. And stability, when uninterrupted, becomes blindness. Atlantis did not seek conquest. It simply expanded. Trade routes spread across seas. Influence followed commerce. Other societies grew dependent on Atlantean resources and protection. Power accumulated not through violence but through relevance. Atlantis became necessary, and necessity creates hierarchy. The Atlanteans did not call themselves rulers. They called themselves protectors. But protection carries expectation, and expectation carries control. This is where the Greeks grew uneasy, because domination rarely announces itself as tyranny. It arrives disguised as order. As Atlantis expanded, something subtle changed. Leadership became insulated. Decisions affected people leaders would never meet. Responsibility dissolved into distance. The city still looked perfect, its architecture symmetrical, its rituals intact, its laws unchanged, but perfection had become performance. Atlantis was no longer balanced. It was polished, and polish hides fractures. Plato never described Atlantis collapsing suddenly, because that was not the lesson. The real danger was how long it survived while already broken. The Greeks believed that when imbalance reaches a certain point, correction becomes inevitable but delayed. The universe does not punish immediately. It waits, and Atlantis had just begun waiting. Atlantis did not collapse when it became powerful. Collapsed when power stopped feeling heavy. At first, authority in Atlantis was restrained. Leadership was a duty, not a privilege. Rulers were expected to protect balance, not extend influence. Their power existed to maintain harmony between land, people, and law. But power changes meaning when it lasts too long. What begins as responsibility slowly transforms into entitlement. Not through corruption but through familiarity. In Atlantis, power became normal. And when power becomes normal, morality begins to lag behind it. No single law was broken. No great betrayal occurred. The shift was invisible. Decisions grew larger, but consequences felt smaller. Rulers governed territories they would never walk, people they would never meet, lives they would never see. Distance dissolved responsibility. This is where Greek philosophy draws a hard line. The Greeks believed morality required proximity, that ethics weakened as power stretched outward. The farther authority moved from consequence, the more dangerous it became. Atlantis crossed that line without noticing. The Atlanteans still spoke of virtue. They still honored their traditions. They still invoked the gods. But belief became performance. Rituals were observed not to reflect values, but to display them. Justice became symbolic. Order became aesthetic. The city looked moral. But morality is not how a civilization appears. It is how it restrains itself when it does not need to. Atlantis no longer felt the need. The Atlanteans still spoke of virtue. They still honored their traditions. They still invoked the gods. But belief became performance. Rituals were observed not to reflect values, but to display them. Justice became symbolic. Order became aesthetic. The city looked moral. But morality is not how a civilization appears. It is how it restrains itself when it does not need to. Atlantis no longer felt the need. Every action taken by Atlantis was rational. That is what made it dangerous. Decisions were logical, efficient, strategic. There was always a reason, always a benefit. But morality does not disappear in chaos. It disappears in justification. When every choice can be explained, nothing feels wrong anymore. Atlantis reached a point where it could justify anything. And at that moment, according to Greek thought, it had already fallen, long before it would collapse. In Plato's account, the gods do not immediately punish Atlantis. They watch, because ancient Greek belief held that imbalance corrects itself naturally. The universe does not rush judgment. It allows excess to complete itself. Atlantis believed the gods favored it. The Greeks believed the gods were patient. and patience is more dangerous than anger. The final stage was not cruelty. It was certainty. Atlantis became convinced of its own permanence, that its systems were unbreakable, that its success proved its righteousness. This is the moment every civilization fears but never recognizes, when survival no longer feels fragile, when collapse feels impossible. That is when morality fully falls behind power, and when correction becomes unavoidable. Atlantis did not fall because it was weak. It fell because it believed it had outgrown restraint. Ancient Greece had a word for this: hubris, and hubris always demands an answer.